This is Margaret Ann Windsor, and that's my real name. And I was kidnapped in '41 and brought to Moulton, Alabama, and where I was given another name of Peggy Ann Dempsey. I married Childers. The real Peggy was a twin to Carl, and they were born out of wedlock. I was dumped off in this pigsty, this hellhole of abuse. I managed to grow up and marry, and I was doing a medical malpractice book because I had worked for doctors, and I usually lay out all this because I ran in a campaign and Larry Flint was shot. So that's kind of to get someone to attention to what you're saying. Excuse me, I've got a mint in my mouth. Now I lost my train of thought. But Larry Flint was shot, and everybody knows he was, in Lawrenceville, Georgia, March the 6th of 78, excuse me. And I was doing the book in Marietta. It's near Lawrenceville, Atlanta. Marietta's near Atlanta, and so is Lawrenceville. I'm living there at Moonraker Apartments, and I lived at Treetop, moved there, and was doing the book. And then I moved to up the street to Bentley Road, Laurelwood Apartments. Got a letter from the FBI June the 23rd of 79. And it was issued through the U.S. Attorney William Harper out of Atlanta. And it stated, ongoing investigation, national security involved. Well, I'm going to stop here and just say this. I've got so many YouTube and Facebook up. At times I've done 5, 6 a day. I don't think there's a day that's gone by that I haven't done 3 or 4. Maybe more. So, and the press all knows this. When I came to Roanoke in October the 20th of 86, I began going, and I had no money or place to stay, but I took information. I've always had the Larry Flint endorsement saying I knew who was responsible for his shooting, the killing of his attorney, and the judge was pretty much hurt. But anyway, I came here, and I've gone to D.C., I found out about my kidnapping in 1983 after I ran in a political campaign to replace Larry McDonald, who was a congressman, a urologist doctor from Piedmont in Atlanta. Plane went down the KAL with 260 aboard, plus supposedly Larry McDonald was on the plane. It's my understanding, it's quite possible they took the whole plane down and he wasn't even on it. Or if he was on it, they took the whole plane down to make it look good. Richard Nixon was taken off the flight from Juneau, Alaska. This flight I'm speaking of, the 007 KL, en route to Seoul, South Korea. And he was taken off, so they knew it was going down, and so did Geraldo Rivera get off. So I became a candidate, and I had wrote a book about him. Well, he was one of the subjects. And I was almost killed April Fool Day of 80. And he was a part of that. I was illegally taken across the state line, background check done on me, and worked for Fred Simpson, the district attorney, as Wallace Simpson was supposed to have married King Edward VIII. She married a double, an impostor, is the truth. But it was like clues to my identity because I didn't know about my kidnapping and who my dad is till late 83 after the campaign. So I put all this up. My father was married to Claudia Ruth O'Keefe, sister to artist Georgia O'Keefe. My mom and dad were married in 1936 when he should have always been king. He still is. There may have been an addendum. As far as I know, I was told that by someone who should really know, that there was an addendum stating if my father ever had an heir, the heir would inherit. So the day I was born Queen Victoria II, heir to the British crown. The Illuminati, Rockefellers, Rothschilds, Bilderbergers, uh, Joe Kennedy and JFK helped in my kidnapping. He flew in there with his brother Joe in 39 to 41 during the war, and even stayed at the embassy and spoke before Parliament. How's that? They've got the real monarch over here kidnapped, 41, and brought to Moulton, given another name. Now, I don't know what else to say. I didn't intend to put this one up. The Parkland, and these are mind control murders done in patterns. So you may think, how are you going to know they stopped? It's not gun control, it's mind control. It's invisible, let me say that. The only reason I can tell it, I knew that something was wrong. I didn't know the word for it first years ago till they were done in patterns, and I was shown how a ham set. This is years ago. You can use a ham set. So I'm going to let your mind go on from there, and you research what's happened since 1976. Then it's done at a low level, and you don't even know you're getting it, and you can be programmed. The chips are usually put in root canals, but they can put in any part of your body. Just like they're talking about scanning, and that's the Illuminati that's in power. They're not, if you're biblical, and I didn't really understand until I started researching on it after I found out my name and everything. The prophecy bit, that's when Texer Jim Mars wrote the book Project Lucid, and I wrote mine way back in 76, started it and finished it, I guess, when they almost killed me in 80. But anyway, he wrote the book after then, and when I came to Roanoke, church gave me this book, and it had in it what I was saying. I just wasn't talking about, I had started understanding that Rockefellers and Rothschilds, because it was after my kidnapping and my dad's takedown. He didn't marry Wallace Simpson, a double did, so that was a fake Duke and Duchess of Windsor. And his own brother was in on it, Elizabeth's father, so he's illegal, she's illegal. And I'm going to lose my train of thought, so I go by memory and everything. But anyway, I didn't realize, like, the Texer Jim Mars, the book, Project Lucid, was talking about revelations. I did the research, and after I was kidnapped, all these treaties are illegal. And you got all kind of Warsaw Pacts and all of these, but treaties that allowed the United States to come in and actually take over the UK and position themselves. And they have military bases underground in Great Britain. They have Area 51 in Australia, plus a whole bunch of other stuff. They've got the Marshall Islands. If anybody cares to see what's really going on, you better research it. And these kids are young adults that's talking to the president today about these shootings in Parkland, Texas. They have the power, the media, and you have to ask yourself why the media took such an interest suddenly. They've known this about my kidnapping and the mind control murders all the time, and they will not tell it. But anyway, they have the power at their hands right now to get the truth told about it. Let me say this, they're not going to, unless they have to address the mind control issue. How do you prove it? I can prove it. The ones that I've spoken about, some of them you can't deny it. They're done in patterns by the people who deliberately did it, and they are probably going to shut it down. There wouldn't be any more school shootings after the Parkland, because that has to do, and this young man didn't know codes. He couldn't have done this shooting deliberately. He couldn't have been a copycat. He had to be programmed. And if you hear it all, you'd understand it. But you're not going to hear it, I'm afraid. It'll be covered up. Parkland has to do, I'm talking about the name Parkland, to Parkland Hospital in Dallas, where John Kennedy was taken when he was shot by a programmed shooter. And so it has to do with that, and with Gonzalez out of Atlanta. was there, an intern at Parkland when Kennedy was brought in. Then he bounced to Huntsville, and then he bounced to Parkwood in Atlanta. This man's still, I believe, in practice. I don't know. But the mental hospitals are thriving. Mental health is being blamed for mind control murders. Behavioral modification, that's done with your chips and with the mind control. And if you start telling about this, even though there's plenty of it on YouTube, now then they're making it easier to come out and just lock you up. Really, you start talking about satellites or mind control, even though doctors, lawyers, and everybody have posts on YouTube about it. Anyway, it may appear to stop now. How do you know it's going to stop? These were done and it got your attention. There are mind control murders I told about. Tesla files stolen in 30, where you can create an illness or cure it. That means cancer. It means anything. And you can make deaths appear of natural cause, like Robin Williams was supposed to have committed suicide. He didn't. It was murder by mind control. And the shooters that have turned the guns on themselves, that's murder by mind control. They were they're puppets, and they were told to shoot themselves, like the Virginia Tech shootings and the Sandy Hook. Yeah, he even shot his mother. This is what's going on, and you're going to let it drop, because if they stop with they've deliberately done it, so it can be shut up now. You should really care about all of it, how things are done, because they could shut everything down with it, really. And anyway, if this stops the mass shootings, it doesn't stop the mind control murders. And I'm going to give this one, and then I'm going to put this down, because it has done me no good. You would think all these people around Roanoke, Virginia, that do know the truth, Huntsville, Alabama, the media, Atlanta, would say something or have marched like you or the other people that know about it. And believe me, a great many do, and they haven't. So if you've got your attention, but you got the wrong thing. Gun control's not it, it's mind control. I'm going to tell this again about when I was working for the district attorney in 80, Fred Simpson, Madison County, DA, Huntsville, Alabama. She came to me, Bunny Saylor did, and her husband, she said, had been placed under investigation. He and two others in the lab he worked in, they were top security at NASA, or Redstone Arsenal, involving the government, working for the government. They were in labs, placed under investigation. They were ready to retire. And she went home, and her husband was in the bathtub, and supposedly he shot and killed himself with a rifle. And this is all done within 3 months after the start of the investigation. And they're ready to retire in top clearance. And the other one developed a rare cancer and died suddenly. The other one ran his car into the Tennessee River and drowned. So this is one of them. And I'm going to quote Dutch Holland, and I hope he doesn't mind after all these years if he's alive. He worked for the district attorney's office investigating at times, quite a bit. And I talked to him in early, I think about the 8th of May, 1980, before they almost killed me. I'd done the book, had a letter from the FBI. I called him because I knew he did investigations. I didn't know I was going to come back and all that happened and work for the district attorney there later in 80. Well, that would have been the following May of 80. In between, this is what happened, and I haven't told that this time about what they did to me April Fool Day. It's too hideous. But he told me on the phone, I talked to Dutch, and he said, I had a client call me. He says, I know about mind control. And he said, she called me, and her husband was going to, she was divorcing him, and he was threatening her and all that. And she died. She committed suicide. And it all looks natural. She was on the phone, and he implied you could get it, and I don't doubt it, through the phone, Um, I, if he had that mechanism, I don't know. So that one, I don't know, but I know he knows what he was talking about. I talked to him later. I want to mention one more here before I go. Because until you address this, they might stop the mass. They'll mass program armies, etc., and you won't know it. How do you know it? It's a single, and the developing cancer and heart attacks and dying, and that you wouldn't know about. And there's lists of them. But I'm going to go back to Mary Welcome, who everybody knew. She had the big sunglasses. She represented Wayne Williams. And even Maynard Jackson, the Atlanta mayor, and the police commissioner Lee Brown, that went on to be commissioner in Houston and mayor of Houston, and he worked as drug czar for, listen to this, the Clintons in their presidency. So why aren't these people speaking out? Because he went on network television with Maynard Jackson on ABC and said Wayne Williams didn't commit these crimes, it's the mechanism used. Well, they didn't finish the sentence, that is, the mechanism is mind control. So later, a few months later, they locked up Wayne and charged him with the murders. They found him guilty of 2, and the rest of them were just covered up. They kept on happening. There was at least about 20. These are black children. You don't hear the blacks saying much about this. O.J. Simpson was one of them that was under mind control, etc. But anyway, at the end of the trial, let me backtrack. I was working at Golden Triangle after the DA when his trial was, well, it hadn't started yet. I called Mary from Huntsville, where I was working. I didn't think she'd believe me. And I got put straight through to her. And she says, "Oh, I do believe you." And she said she was going to get a deposition, send an attorneys. Well, I was almost killed again. It's who tried to do it, and then they really almost did it again. But you won't hear any of this on your television. But anyway, Wayne was tried, and I'll go and say this. At the end of the trial, Mary Welcome became famous during this. I never got the deposition. They tried to kill me. Not Mary, same people that were doing it anyway. But Mary was representing Wayne. And at the very end of the trial, the CIA retired. His name was Marcus, Attorney Marcus, came in, and it was taken from Mary, and he represented Wayne. Well, Wayne had been in the CIA training camp outside of Atlanta, and I think it's about time you all get another history lesson, everybody, what's really going on. Because until you address mind control, MK Ultra, I think you should address your own ethics, because I've told this and I have been treated like you can't believe the horror stories that have been put through. And I'm still going on YouTube tonight, and they have good intentions, those students. I don't know that President Trump knows this or not. I think he does. But none of them are going to tell it, because it involves my kidnapping and who I am and what the Americans are doing and have done. But again, until you address the subject of mind control, and you're not going to be able to prove it without mine, that's the problem with it. They have to let me talk, and then the whole thing about my father, Edward VIII, the lies, the take down the Kennedys, and while I've got this still going, because they can come out so easy and lock you up. They did Anastasia up in Charlottesville, Virginia. She's my cousin, and that was Anna, and they killed her.